poor. I made a joking remark there a wee while ago, 25 minutes ago, that I discovered Slim Love. I had certain issues. I had an alcohol issue, a wee bit of substance, and I had a gambling addiction. And like Big Andy does, he doesn't do them in ones, you know, he catches for the want of a better phrase, 3 doubles and a treble at the same time. And that, into that great big mix, I had a lot of personal family problems, 1 or 2 personal family problems as well. And I didn't handle them properly at all. And that was probably, I spent the worst maybe 3 or 4 years of my life after that.
You experienced life for the homeless?
I did, yeah, I did. I did that. I actually went in. I see people now in the paper and I laugh, you know. Unfortunately, as I talk about counsellors, there's a counsellor he's been in a rehabilitation place for 48 hours down there in Castle Craig or something. I read in the paper now he's cured and everything's okay and he'll be back at work in 4 weeks' time. You know, you get a longer insurance line than that if you're a counsellor. No, I went into rehabilitation and I spent 15 months there. The rehab was offered to me down in London at Tony Adams' Sporting Chance Clinic, which I felt that I didn't want to take on board because I really couldn't see myself back down there living on my own, out with the people who were up here that I needed round about me at that time. So I didn't take that chance and I did the rehabilitation a bit closer to home. And that lasted, would you believe, 15 months. So it wasn't going in a weekend, stay sober and behave yourself from Friday to Monday and we'll wave you ta-ta again. And it was quite comprehensive. It was hard work. And, well, every day I thank the people that were there to help me at that moment in time. You know, the people for the RCA Trust, I know they do a lot of good work. Done a lot of good work for me, and I'll be forever grateful for that.
I would say, looking at you just now, Andy, I mean, you've performed some resurrection shuffle. You look wonderful.
Yeah.
No, just now.
You got a daughter? Listen, I mentioned D3 there. That bugger Tiger Woods, he gets a sex addiction. Is that not available to hear about too old? Somebody at the back. He's too ugly. No, I think in a space of time I had to sit down and look at certain situations in my life and come to terms with certain things in my life as well. It's a full mixture, a full gambit of emotions that were all around about, and I had to come to terms with them and certain things that had happened in my life. And I mixed them all up with alcohol and gambling, and there just didn't seem at that moment in time a lot of good happening in my life. And when I really got back into that and had a right good close look at it, you know, I'm very lucky that way, you know. I have a smashing family, 2 great boys, much as they break my heart sometimes, but 2 smashing boys, great granddaughter, a Jen. I love my mother, she's 81 years of age and she's a diamond, and I've got a dog. And when I look at all these things and I think to myself, you know, I've got a lot going for me. There's a lot going for me. I'll never be able to play football and score goals for Morton again. That's the only thing that... Listen, I'll tell you what. You need to go to Specsavers, Byron. There's another advert.
Andy, take it for a guy who through the lot. Listen to you. You've done well, buddy.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Folks, one thing Andy can't do is he can't score goals for Morton anymore. Well, maybe he could, but he's not going to get a chance. One thing he can do is he can answer a few of your questions that you've been kind enough to hand in. First one's from Tommy Wilson. He says, Andy, you had 3 great nicknames. My boss, Ritchie, The Shins of Ritchie and the Idle, did the last one bother you?
The last one was a guy called Sandy Beveridge who passed away a few years ago, reported for the Daily Record, and he hung that tag on me. You know, he was a smashing fella, and I enjoyed my time and spending time with Sandy Beveridge. So that didn't bother me. That my bozza was that arsehole Tony Roper, that pal. And it's my pal. But also as well, the bit that annoyed everybody in my family was, he used to turn on telly as being his old pal, my bozza Ritchie. But then he'd say, and his sister, my tits are. And that annoyed her.
Quickly move on. Pat, I think Pat's 9, did you ever get asked to move to New York Cosmos?
Yeah. I remember sitting in Park Gardens at the SFA offices waiting on my work certificate. And Alfie Conn was there that day as well. I remember the two of us were sitting waiting on it. And for some reason or another, they cancelled the temporary transfers. So you were allowed to go during the summer season. Eddie Fermani, who was a pal of Al Stewart's, was going to take me to New York Cosmos. And they cancelled them that morning. Yeah, lucky white heather. Alfie didn't get his. He was going to Houston Dynamos. And I was going to New York Cosmos to play in the summer and then come back. Morton actually took on 2 guys from New York Cosmos as well. A boy called Dave Ritchie, and a little Italian lad, goalkeeper. That's right. And a little lad called Ronnie Antonazio, who had mafia connections in New York. I always remember, I got the job of going to Glasgow Airport to pick the 2 of them up. Harvey put them into a place down in Skelmanley, funny enough.
YMCA?
I was that fucking homeless hostel I was in. And I remember they got to pick them up and we brought them down. And Big Dave Ritchie was a big, tall, good-looking American going on. He was a wee spab Italian boy. And I had to take them back into Capo and somebody was going to run them down. And I remember Ronnie Antonazio bouncing out the car with his white gutties on him. He says to me, Andy, do you play here? I said, yeah, this is where Morton play. He says, see, we had a stadium like this in New York, we dump scrap cars in it. Well, you'll do well here, Ronnie.
I think this is a question, not a statement. The question is, have you still got your boots? Well, you said you stuck them in the bin. But anyway, the invite is bring them tomorrow. There's one here from Stuart Gunn, concerns Morton. Nice, simple, 3-part question. Where are Morton going at the moment? What changes would you like to see? And what went on with your friend, Mr. Donald, and the Rays, Stuart Gunn?
Who is that bugger? He's probably left that by the way here. First one was again, Jim, sorry?
First one is,
What's happening?
well, I don't know where are Morton going at the moment.
Where are they going? I don't know. I came down for the Celtic game. My son and myself came down and watched the Celtic game. I haven't seen Morton this season, I thought. Sorry, I tell a lie. There you go. Universitia Krakatoa Eastern Java. They played down at the start of the season and I watched them. And the Morton team that I seen that day had entirely different capabilities because they were bigger, they looked bigger, they looked stronger, they looked a bit more physical than some of the Morton teams before. And I've got to be perfectly honest with you, the Morton teams when they're not like that. When they play a wee bit of football and they get the ball down and they try and pass it, and they get players that play. Alan McGraw had teams like that. Alan McGraw had good teams with good football players attached to it. Again, similar to what we spoke about earlier, guys who went on to play at a higher level as well. So I wouldn't say I'd been over enamoured with what had happened. I think that might very well have been, and correct me if I'm wrong, that might very well have been a Davy Irons situation that he wanted to change. But then as Davy Irons moved on and left the boys here, and I don't think much has changed. The wee boy McAllister looks a good football player. He looks alright. He'd certainly be one, but I might be a wee bit hard pressed to honestly put my hand over my heart and say that, you know, there's maybe not many of them in there that would maybe go and be able to play at a higher level than Morton. And that's always a gauge. Never ever be fooled by that, that's always a gauge. The gauge will always be, are they players that are playing for your football team at this moment in time able to go and play at a higher level? They can go and play with Alloa, they can go and play with Stennismuir, they can bugger off down the road to Stranraer and play, because they clubs aren't as big as Morton. The next stepping stone for Morton should be up the way. If it's not, it's a bit of a disappointment to them. Well, you've not got, sorry, the coaches. You don't need coaches. What you need to do is, somebody said to me, the boy McAllister, he's a Rothsey boy. And that's always a question when I come to Capello, because I'm not a Greenock guy. I always ask how many Greenock boys, how many Gurrock boys, how many boys for the Port, how many Charlie Browns are playing in the team, how many Neil Orrs are playing in the team, how many John McNeils are playing in the team. That's the catalyst to the whole thing for Morton. It's not like the guys for Queen of the South who were on crazy amounts of money, who went to Gretna, who were on crazy amounts of money that come back into Morton and think they can get a wee bit better on a wage down here. You know, that's not what it's about. It's about local people, and then subsidising that by people having to come into it. So give your local talent a chance.
And would you agree that 90% of footballers, and it's fantastic now, is manufactured, and only 10% is pure natural ability, and that's not what's going to filter through to the coaching from a youth point of view. Would you agree with that?
Well, any time I go and see youth team football, I go and see kids playing, I don't do as much of it as I used to do now. But it was all taking part at the side of the park. It wasn't actually taking part on the park. You know, I remember, you know, you could have 3 or 4 guys walking up and down the side. They've all got tracksuits on. They've maybe all done their coaching badges at Largs, as the boys touched upon earlier on. But that's not what it's all about. It's about the kids out there being able to express themselves, play football the way they see football, so that when football clubs come along and take them, then they can mould them into what they want themselves. It's not about, you can't manufacture football players. It's not like Barzai and Brewer or the boat run by in a conveyor belt. It doesn't work that way. But there is football players out there, and you've got to get football players from your, if you're a provincial club, from your local community. That means more, it did when I played, it meant more to the local boys down here than it meant to the people who were travelling, the Jimmy Holmes for Hamilton, the Andy Ritchie for Uddingston, the Johnny Goldford. It meant more to the George Andersons. It meant more to the Charlie Browns. It meant more to the John McNeils, the Barry Evans, who were going into their work down here, into the yards on a Monday morning, and having to do that. We all disappeared on the Saturday night and come back down for the next day's training. So they had that inbuilt determination that it had to be, that they were going to be successful. And it's not, you can't make football players. If you even think that you're taking your kid along on a Monday night or a Wednesday night to some coaching school somewhere else, don't bother with it. You're kidding yourself on. They'll not make them football players. It comes from within. It comes from within your own self, whether you can do it, whether you like to do it.
Andy, what was your favourite goal for Morton?
It was a goal, but it wasn't a goal. It was a goal at Celtic Park. And a gale force wind to the halfway line. Right on the top. And the linesman, just shows you, they weren't any good then, they're not any better. The linesman gave offside at the far side, at the jungle side. And he gave offside and chopped the goal off. Even the Celtic players were.
That was there. That was a great there.
And it was in the teeth of a gale, wasn't he?
Wasn't
Wasn't he playing a 4-iron down one gym, you know? Into the teeth of a gale.
What's the best goal you've ever scored? That's by Jeanette Faulkner.
That one.
Somebody else here seems to think it was the best they'd ever seen was against Dundee United when Peter Benetti was on loan from Chelsea. Morton beat them 4-1. You got a hat-trick. Jim Tomley got the other. And the only regret was that the free kick wasn't televised.
Okay, I remember that day.
Yes.
Good goal.
The thing was,
And actually scored the 4th goal, they chopped it up.
Well, in
the
fact,
thing was, Andy, the boy really hit the ball. He asked the referee.
in In fact, Chick Douglas actually alludes to that goal you've just talked about at Celtic Park.
The one against the D right was the ball in the left. He asked the referee to stop the game early. And the referee never came outside of the bargain.
Right?
Andy, was Jock's team the reason you never got a Scotland Cup?
Yeah, I would say so. He was put under pressure. The 1978-79 season, he was put under pressure to include me and to give me a cap. I really should have gone to Argentina in 1978. I really should have gone. I believe that deep within my own heart. I had scored 30 odd goals that season. I was the best player in the country. No two ways about it, because I was voted the best player. Probably the peak of my football gym, and I didn't get there. And you know, Alan McLeod had phoned me when he was going to announce the squad, because somebody had said that I was in the squad and I'd spoken to him. He phoned me to say that he'd put it in front of the SFA committee, and the SFA committee couldn't give him the go-ahead to do that because I was a part-time player playing with a part-time club. And how would that look on the world stage if Scotland's one of their main strikers was coming for a part-time club who didn't even play on a full-time basis. So I felt disappointed about that. And that was the first time I remember asking for a transfer at Morton. When I got that, well, his word to me were that they couldn't take a striker who was going to score goals for Scotland. The Ruffy was full-time. Partick Thistle was full-time. They couldn't take a part-time player who was going to be playing up front for Scotland to the game.
I had them afraid to take a South America.
Nice compliment.
I think at that time as well, when Jim said about Big Jock included me in an international squad, and he phoned me the night before to say he was doing it. And I was delighted. It was against Belgium and Brussels at the Heysel in 1979 Euro Championship. And then phoned me 24 hours later. He phoned me 24 hours later to renege on that and to say that I'd be travelling as an overage player with the under-21s to Locker to play in the under-21 game the Tuesday prior to it. I sort of got the message then that regardless of what I was going to, I played for the under-21s that night. I think we Alan Brazil played, Gordon Strachan played, Roy Aiken played. They were all young players at that time, George McCluskey. And we beat Belgium 1-0. But I knew it didn't matter what would happen. As long as I was playing at Morton, regardless of what would happen, I would never get a full international cap. I knew then. I knew travelling back home again, and you know, I neither got picked 3 or 4 weeks later as an overage player for the under-21s in the return game against Belgium, and I was neither back in an international squad again.
I think this question actually, it says here, what was it like when Jock's team picked you for the under-23s? But I think that might be...
That's the same, yeah.
That's the same thing, yeah. It says here, Billy McShane asks, you talked about abuse at a Premiership club in your book. Do you wish to speak about it tonight?
Well, I end up in court with him, maybe. Get yourself good lawyers.
Hey, you're green up for oil, you're out of court today.
It would be right today at the minute. I've actually spent about 6 or 7 months putting together a book, my own book, you know, an autobiography. And I think it would be suffice to say that, you know, it won't, well, sorry, I'm saying it won't be published. It will be published. Now, it'll either be that I'll need to win the lottery and take out a mob of lawyers to keep me in court and wrap me up in court for about 6 or 7 months, or maybe even a year in litigation. Or maybe about 5 or 6 people will need to die. I think I'd better win the lottery. I think that. Different story down here. I would reckon that if that was the case, and there's maybe people in the hall tonight that will maybe agree, we could maybe get the book published. And I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with that, I can assure you. I really don't have the time now, because I start a new job on the 1st of April. Director of Football at Stockport County.
And I'm getting you on.
And you don't have the time for it. And I certainly don't have the money to tie myself up in court for a year of my life. I really don't want to. And that's basically only because, only because I would tell the truth.
Folks,
I would tell the truth and shame the devil, but see, at the end of the day, I neither have the money nor the inclination to spend all that time in court trying to convince people that I'm trying to.
folks, we're going to kind of wind down there, just 4 or 5 more questions. Andy, there's one here from Chris Davidson, says 2004, wee pub under a pizza shop, Glasgow, Andy Ritchie testimonial, Chick Young talker, only 40 people, about a signed Wayne Rooney Everton shirt for 140 quid at the auction. How did you acquire that?
I remember that night, it was a smashing night. There's a lot of people come up to Green like, how I got it? I looked and tried to sign, Aston Villa, who I'd been working for at that time, I tried to sign Wayne Rooney prior to going to Everton. And his agent convinced him that Everton would be the best deal for him. We kept in contact and we knew a mutual friend. And he knew this was happening and he sent up a signed Everton, his first signed Everton shirt, and sent it up. And on the night before we got down, and somebody in Greenock got it. I remember we fella got it. I think it was 140 quid or whatever it was, you know. I got it through, and he'd sent it up and he posted it.
No.
He posted it up to that big fat bastard. And I gave the guy the file, I gave him the package as well that was on it, and I think that pleased him more than the jersey at the time.
Here's one here from Gordon Bryce. Do you think the standard of refereeing is worse than when you played, bearing in mind Celtic's claims of referees' hidden agendas, and if the goal you scored at Parkhead that was disallowed by referee Drew McFall?
I need to put my hat on there because I'm the SPL Observer delegate at the Hibs and Kilmarnock game tomorrow, so I'll slip that hat on now. I don't think there's any difference in the referees now than what they were 30 years ago.
Still all Arsenal's.
Yeah, there you go. You can realise that. But, you know, there's good decisions or bad decisions to be made. There was good referees when I played and there was bad referees. And that's why it was just like there's good football players in the
Andy, but we didn't make a mistake. The team's proper.
And just
Well, the other side of it was that, see every time these guys play now, Sky Television and every television company in the world have got television cameras nearly pointing up their nostrils. You see everything that was going on before. It's the same when you see so many goals on your television now. You know, when we played 30 years ago, the cameras went to Rangers and Celtic, but there was one camera and you seen absolutely nothing. The joy of that is coming back to the pub, or coming home in the bus, or coming home in the car, and discussing the things that you think happened. Not anybody else. No, some smart-ass guy like Andy Gray sitting on the telly pointing wee bits round about the time. Go to the game. See the game. The game, discuss it in your night. Talk about it. See, this is what I think. And the guy that goes to the game is entitled to his opinion, more so than anybody else. And there is right decisions, there's wrong decisions. I'll do at the game tomorrow, and I need to put a report in. Oh, sorry, my son will need to write a report for the referee. Found up writing's no easy. And there'll be good things done, and there'll be bad things done. But this paranoia and the propaganda that keeps getting churned out for Celtic is a pain in the arse. There's no two ways round about that. But we business itself every so often, and people are beginning to get a bit bored with it now. Now, if the referee claims that he sent Scott Brown off on Saturday for making the gesture of headbutting, is there anybody in here that really thinks he didn't make the gesture of a headbutt? Regardless it hit the boy in the nipple, but that's neither here nor there. That's what he was sent off for. And look, I don't think anybody's got a problem with it. The only people that seem to have a problem with it are Celtic supporters. I think so.
Andy, did Sunday Chairman, did Bobby Thompson boss Sunday?
No.
No chance. And that cost us Europe.
The cameras weren't there.
The cameras weren't there, and Sandy laid down. Sandy did what Kyle Lafferty did. Sandy Jardine did that. Sorry, he didn't. He done it twice. Bobby Thompson was sent off twice. Now, Sandy Jardine did what Kyle Lafferty did with Charlie Mulgrew. Now, that was seen on television, and within 15 seconds had been seen again, and within another 10 seconds had been seen again. You were there that day, my friend, would that be
I
correct?
was there, my man.
Right.
I was
And
there.
unless you were there, as Jimmy Sanderson, the great Jimmy Sanderson said, unless you were there, you don't have an opinion on it. I was there that day as well, and I know he didn't touch him.
Well, that's the definitive answer.
Yeah.
Final question, Andy, and it's a two-part one. Who's the best player you played with and why? And who's been your most difficult opponent and why? That's from Gordon and Mary.
The best player I played with at Morton was Jimmy Holmes.
Yes.
Jimmy Holmes. I remember Morton were, I think, second or third in the Premier League at the time, and the Daily Record, they did a thing where the 10 Premier League managers would pick their own team from the Premier League. Obviously nobody able to pick their own players. And I was chuffed. I made 6. I thought, that's not, they must like me, and I thought, the other 3 are fucking doubles. Jimmy Holmes made 9 out of the 10. 9 out of the 10. Benny Rooney would have had him in the team anyway, had him in the team every week. Now, Jimmy Holmes was a part-time player, was never full-time in Morton. He was an engineer in the Rolls Royce, as I said earlier on in the evening. My dad was his labourer for many years. He travelled up and down with me for a long, long time as well. He stayed on for many years after I left Morton. He was a good servant to the club, fantastic servant to the club. Managed to go back up to the Premier League again with Morton, still being a part-time player. Won numerous Player of the Year awards. Jimmy Holmes was the best player I played with at Morton, and he was the best pro I've ever played with.
And your most difficult opponent?
The most difficult opponent was Paul Hegarty. I found Paul Hegarty.
Oh, we cunt!
By the way, he speaks very highly of you. He was very difficult because he was very good in the air, he was very quick, and he was a good reader of the game, and you know, I found
Very good in the air.
very good in the air.
Been up there.
And he's very
I
good.
seen you. He did
What a good
it all.
Andy!
Folks, thanks very much for coming this evening. We very much appreciate your support. Thoroughly enjoyed Andy Ritchie, and I would like to put your hands together for Andy. Thank you very much.